All
Okay.
right.
Good. As
Hello.
greetings.
Welcome back. We are 99.99% nonsense, and this is an intro with I don't know how long it's been since we've done an intro.
Probably every episode except for the very first two, if I remember correctly. Maybe not even the second one. I don't know.
Maybe not. This time around, we are actually looking at each other.
Yes. I
Um,
get to see his wonderful visage.
this 6'5" visage, this
This
sack of bones and flesh and
yeah this
water.
yeah the existence that is Jason beyond his just his vocal stylings.
Well, hello. Now look at your man. Now look back at me. Now look at your man. Sadly, he isn't me because I'm Jay. Yeah. So basically, I finally got to buy myself a webcam. It is the most popular Logitech webcam that there is, and I got it for a very strikingly good deal. So
I
I was
always
like,
like the good deer.
oh, very much so.
Very much a good deer.
It is a $5 holla. Actually, it was like 25, but you know what? I'm not going to complain.
I mean, considering the fact that like 10 years ago that camera would have been worth like a couple $100, that's kind of amazing. Like,
Did it originally come out for like a couple hundred? I thought it was more like 130 because the updated like 4K version of this camera
mhm.
is I think close to 160 now.
Yeah, well, I mean, you also have to adjust for inflation. So if you adjust for inflation and the fact of the matter is the dollar 10 years ago was worth about a dollar 80
Mhm.
relative to what it is when it launched at like 129.99 MSRP, like you're talking about essentially $200 of today's dollars.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'll want to get that 4K camera, but I don't have a 4K computer, so it does not matter to me.
You mean a 4K monitor? Like
4K monitor, yes, you're correct.
the vast majority of us don't. Like 1440p is like as high as it gets on most phones. So like and the vast majority of content as of right now is actually being consumed over phones or like in-house streaming devices such as smart TVs and other things. And most of those aren't even 4K yet. I think like
No,
we're gonna be
it's still.
stuck at 1080p for like another 5.5 years.
No, I agree. I think it might perk up to 1440 in between. Like it's going right now. I think we're the starting transition of migrating to 1440.
Well,
But
the
as
easy part about that is it's just 720p doubled.
yeah,
Yeah, like it's basically like four 720p screens like side by side is my understanding because 1440 is the height. It's like 1440
yes,
by 2160. That sounds about right.
2180.
Is it
I don't know.
2180? I don't. I
Uh,
can't remember. All I know is the aspect ratio ends up being 9:1 ish.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a nice change of pace, and we could actually see our reaction. So if we start busting up laughing, you can only imagine what we're looking at.
Yeah,
So.
no, I mean, he's probably just looking at the weird faces I make so I can make the voices that I make. Um,
Voices go deep. Voices too.
the deep, manly voices that
But
I
yeah, this is
make.
gonna be interesting because we're also recording and doing video at the same time. So
But the
see if
video will never be
Caleb's.
seen, so it's
Yeah, oh,
okay.
yeah. But it seems like your computer's handling it fine, so that's
It,
exciting.
that is very exciting. For those who don't know anything about computer hardware, my computer is by all rights ancient. It is several years old, generationally. So like my processor is I believe it's a 7500 Intel i5 and I have like a 1660 Ti in it. So like 3 or 4 generations old graphics card.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, no, like I'm running some legacy hardware here, and I'm hoping to upgrade eventually. But
When you do, are you switching over to AMD
I need to
for
see
your
where
processor?
I need to see where, because currently manufacturing is just so ridiculous. Like
Mm-hmm.
like silicon prices just keep going up and up and up. So like the amount of processor you're actually getting per dollar has technically gone down, even though like the instructions per clock has gotten better, and the like the amount of cycles they can do has gone up. Like most people are running processors that can do 5 gigahertz like it's nobody's business, like just normally. And I'm like, back in the days of the Skull Canyon and like uh the original i7s and stuff, trying to overclock them, getting them up to 2 gigahertz was crazy. Like,
Right.
yeah, no, like, yeah.
Do you also plan to overclock when you do?
Eventually when I have the thermal and acoustic headroom, because I do small form factor builds, tend to. My PC is a little bit smaller than your average Nike shoebox.
Yeah. So when you decide to upgrade and update, are
Mm-hmm.
you going to get a full ATX, like a full bodied case,
Uh,
full
I'm
chassis?
I'm probably going to go mid tower because that's where the best price to performance is right now. Like most mid towers are ATX sized, but
Mm-hmm.
they're not extended ATX typically.
Yeah.
Um, but this is a lot of technical jargon to like a lot of people who don't know anything about like
No, that's true. That's true.
computers.
I don't know. Okay, this is going to be probably the last thing I'm going to say about it too. Is that they just like the number one case that you see in a ton of like layouts and people's like setups is the Lian Li O11 dynamic
So beautiful.
case. It's
Yeah.
a very clean case. It's very minimalistic, and they just
Mm-hmm.
updated a new version of it, the Evo. Um, right now, that is the number one case that I plan to eventually get. Right now, it's sold out, and I could have pre-ordered it, but I don't plan on changing my case on my computer right now.
The problem I have with Lee and Lee is it's art over function because they are just so beautiful. The problem is, like, they made a boat PC case just because they could. That's Lee and
Yeah,
Lee. Like, they also
yeah.
have like one of the smallest small form factor cases that exists. Like, I would love that case, but like physically speaking, there's no way in hell I could actually fit all of my components into it.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's
Um,
insane the amount of like just design that goes into most Lee and Lee cases. They're beautiful. They're just extremely expensive for what you get.
but have you seen the Evo? Have you seen what its functionality is a lot better um compared to its original model. That's the only reason why I want to get it
Yeah.
is that
If I were to go, I'd want something like almost silent so I could keep it on my desk without messing with my audio. Like
mhm,
because I do mostly audio recording for when I'm doing when I'm on the computer. I
yeah.
would want to be able to have it nearby, be able to look at all the pretty lights and stuff, but also simultaneously not distract myself away from what I'm looking at. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
I felt that.
yeah, no, I'm like, ooh, pretty lights. No, but I like minimalist. I like sleepers, if that's a thing in PCs. Like a sleeper PC's always funny.
Yeah. Mhm.
I went to LTX 2019, which is the last Linus Tech Tips expo that they had before the Rona came through. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so I got to see all of these custom built PCs and stuff. And there's this guy rocking like this PC from the early 2000s, and inside he had like a 16 core Threadripper or something like that. He's like
Mhm.
rocking like all this baller hardware inside of like this super duper rinky dink case, and it was just the funniest thing to me because it's like those guys that get walked in their supercars or their hypercars by like little Honda
Mhm.
Civics and stuff.
Yeah. That's why I have an old Dell computer just chilling in just chilling in the room. And to be honest, I just want to empty it and then use it as a shell.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's one of those things where I'm just like I also would love to do an open case like an open case build, but the thing with that is dust.
Dust management.
And
Like there's a couple of ways you can go about that. If you have so like most of the time you hear about static, and it's a PC killer, right? Static is terrible. You need to be able to ground your PC so that like bad stuff doesn't happen to it. But they actually make these weird anti-static things you can hang inside of an open case that purposefully attract dust away from your components. Like and they're like just run on regular PD, like a regular fan header. So there are ways to do an open case, or you could just actively clean your PC every time you shut it down.
pretty much, or like
Run
have a case on top
crazy
of
HEPA
it.
filters.
That have a case on top of it so the dust doesn't just like settle and collect on top of it. Like, yeah, there are multiple ways of dealing with it. You
Like-
could go old school with a cardboard box and just put it on top of the computer.
It works. My biggest, like, the thing I've been wanting to do basically since I even knew it was a possibility is the desk PC. Like, I want to build a computer
Oh, like a
into a
full
desk
desk
and just have it
integrated.
run silently, have it run cool, and have it be like ridiculously powerful. Now, the problem with that is that everyone and their dog has one, and I want to build mine different. Now,
And how would you do that?
well, see, part of the anime nerd in me loves this series by Clamp called Chobits. I don't know if you've ever seen the anime Chobits, but basically, personal computers became anthropomorphized. So as technology developed, they became human computers. So the computers walk around, they look like humans, they act like humans, but they're like a personal PC. And you can have ones that are like super small, like action figure sized. And like you just plug them into your monitor and stuff. And it's supposed to be a
Interesting.
pseudo allegory on how technology is essentially making us incapable of interacting with other humans. And it kind of does show that. Like, beautiful, beautiful anime. Like, anyone who has the time, go check out Chobits. There's a lot of ecchi stuff. It's an early 2000 anime. I'm sorry, but that's just the way they were. But like, so far as like the deeper meanings and stuff, and how it kind of really reaches into the understanding of what makes a human human and what makes a computer a computer. I've always wanted to get like a mannequin or something and build like my PC into the mannequin, and then have like a realistic like Chobits head with like the little adapters coming out of the ear cones. Anyone who's seen Chobits, they know what I'm talking about. But just have like pass-throughs and stuff, so like I could just plug in my monitor into essentially a Persicom and like have it walk around with me, or wheel it around or something. All like freaky idea, I know, but like it's always been like one of the things that I'm like, if I had stupid money, this is what I would do with stupid money.
Okay, I find it interesting because you said that anime came out early 2000s?
I feel like it, if I remember correctly, it's early to mid 2000s is Chobits.
Okay. So there's this movie that just came out. It's done by 20th Century. I can no longer say 20th Century Fox because it's not owned by Fox anymore.
No, it isn't. It's 20th
Yeah,
Century
20th
Media.
Century.
Yeah.
20th Century Media, owned by Disney.
Mhm.
They released a movie that pretty much summarizes what you had to explain. The movie's called Ron's Gone Wrong, and it's almost the same thing. Not exactly the same thing, but the same concept, where everyone has this personal tech like robot, and it kind of looks like the mascot for Android, like the little.
Oh
the
yeah,
little
like
alien bot,
the
green one.
droid. Yeah.
Yeah.
Droid dragon.
and
yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. And everyone owns one, and it's basically their social media interaction thing. The reason why it's called Ron's Gone Wrong is because the protagonist ends up getting the defective one. So it's a weird movie where it kind of feels like a little bit they took from Big Hero 6 with Baymax, and the chaoticness of a robot gone haywire.
So my
So
my thing is like whenever I hear Robot Gone Haywire, I go back to Wall-E, and before Wall-E, there was number 5 from Short
Johnny
Circuit.
Five. Do you
Johnny
mean Johnny
5.
Five?
Well, he is number 5, then he chose the name Johnny, so we call him Johnny 5 out of respect to Uncle Johnny 5. Yeah. Uh
Johnny Five is alive.
yeah.
Sorry, if you don't know the movie, you don't know that reference. So
It's okay, but basically it was one of the first movies where sentience in robotics was proposed as being a possibility, and the only way it exists is by quote unquote act of God. A robotics a robot was hit by lightning and it became sentient. So like that is like the long and short of it. Die Antwoord essentially created a newer version of the same movie, except Die Antwoordian, in Chappie,
yeah, I had a feeling you were going to bring Chappie up.
because that's very similar to what they're trying to get at with Chappie, is what makes a being human. Like they gave Chappie essentially all of the things that made humans human. The ability to care for things, to empathize, to sympathize, to learn, to grow, and giving them a limited lifespan. Because as soon as you extend our lifespan past a certain point, we stop caring about things. Like they're like
Yeah, that's very true.
don't get me wrong. Like if we were to live forever, the vast majority of us would turn into complete savages and not care about anything at all. The reason why we care about things the way we do is because of how fleeting our lifespans are in like the greater relative of everything.
True. Very, 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 very true.
Yeah. Like
Because what else? There is another movie that also touches base on something like that. That's Ex Machina.
oh, okay, yeah, no, wasn't that another like early 2000s movie?
It was the mid 2000s.
Mid 2000s?
Mid to like late 20 like 15 16. I believe probably 2013 if the earliest I think.
Am I
Go
thinking
fact check it right now.
I'm thinking like earlier. I could have swore that came out like really early.
I don't think it was that early. 2014. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. What am I thinking of then? Because
It might have been-
there was
Are you thinking of iRobot?
well, that's another one where they discuss the possibility of sentience in robotics. Like, great job, Will Smith, by the way.
Terminator?
Terminator.
The Terminator?
Well, that's actually not sentience. That's the problem. That's self-awareness is not sentience. So
No, it happen after, I think it's like the third or fourth one where they introduced that.
well, the
introduce
the
the
actual
concept.
yeah. So so far as Skynet is concerned, its base programming is peace on Earth. That's like kind of Skynet's like base programming. Unfortunately, when you extrapolate peace on Earth out far enough, you basically come up with the idea that humanity is the only reason why there's war. Therefore, if you wipe out humanity, there is no war. Therefore, peace on Earth.
And it goes along to tie it in. There's a new show that is out right now, which I have recommended to you off recording, off microphone. Is Peacemaker with John Cena.
It kind of looks like a mix between RoboCop and like I don't know what else. I'm thinking like Galactus and RoboCop. Like in between is the
that.
Peacemaker character. Kind of looks like that.
I could see that. But I mean, Peacemaker. No, is it Peacekeeper or Peacemaker? Dang it! Now I can't think of it. I think it's Peacekeeper. No, Peacekeeper's the gun. Peacemaker.
Yes. Well, technically speaking, you can use them. The gun is a peacekeeper. The person who uses it is a peacemaker.
Right, but
Yeah.
the superhero that is portrayed by John Cena is Peacemaker. But that's basically his logic. It's like his logic is, I will forever keep the peace, and it doesn't matter man, woman, child. I will kill whoever in order to make that peace happen.
Okay, I'm definitely going to have to check this out because, like, I started watching on Amazon Video, Prime Video. They have that other show.
Invincible?
No.
Invincible or The Boys?
The Boys. I need to watch
Boys.
Invincible though. Invincible looks amazing.
Invincible's gonna be a whole ass other episode, just letting you know, because, or at least when it comes to us talking about and discussing it, because season 2 is gonna come out, I think, some point this year.
Okay, then I need to catch up on Invincible. But so far as
it's a very easy watch.
Yeah, so far as The Boys go, I appreciate them taking the hero aspect the way they did. I appreciate where they come from. What I don't appreciate is there's no real heroes, like in the show. Like none of them, none of like the actual do-gooders are actually held to any standard or code that even remotely resembles like the real hero, like the heroes that we grew up with. There's not a single ideologue of actual Superman. The person they have.
It shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it shows the realism of what it is to be here as a human on Earth.
Yeah, no, it's
you know
like
what I mean?
what corporatism would do to heroism. Like essentially that's, and My Hero Academia actually does it a little bit differently. Like it's kind of interesting the way that it's portrayed in The Boys versus the way it's portrayed in My Hero Academia, because they're essentially the same universe.
Or at least they mirror each other very well.
Yeah, they're very, very mirrored. In The Boys, you have the Superman analog, which isn't Superman. I can't remember what they call him.
It's been a while since I watched, because I watched it when it was first coming out. I'm going to fact check, but go ahead and explain.
Yeah, no, they have the pseudo Superman analog, blonde hair, blue eyes, all American boy, and they make up his backstory as he's basically Clark Kent, but he's not. That's not his true backstory. Meanwhile, in My Hero Academia, you have All Might, whose like backstory isn't public knowledge. They're like some heroes have secret identities, whereas most heroes have their hero identity and they are that person 100% of the time. I mean, mind you, they still have days off and stuff, but like for the most part, they become this icon of heroism that they personify. And because there are more, I think it actually has to do, I'm sorry, I'm like talking out my reasonings on this. I think
it's fine.
I think the difference between the two is the distribution of power. So in My Hero Academia, 80% of the entire human population has some sort of difference about them, otherwise known as a quirk. So their superpower, their abilities, something about them was a mutation. Like they're all different types of quirks and whatnot. Meanwhile, in The Boys, spoilers to anyone who hasn't watched it yet. I mean, they're already on like the third season, aren't they?
They're about to come out with the third season.
Yeah, they're about to launch.
Season 2 came out last year.
Yeah, I haven't watched the second season. Like I saw the cliffhanger at the end of like the first season, and I'm like, nope, okay, I'm good, I'm done. Yeah.
You should probably watch the second season.
I need to watch the second season. I understand this. And technically speaking, I need to watch the third season because it has my boy, Jensen Ackles. I love him so much. Anyway, I've never met Jensen Ackles in real life. I just love him because Supernatural. Anyway,
that is a series that I have yet to start.
Dude. Okay,
I had this oh, go ahead.
I think you and I have talked about the fact that you've tried to start it like several times over, but like every time you do, it's because of some female in your life that's already into it and she ruined everything.
I mean, yeah, that's pretty much true. Like 3 out of 3.
Yeah.
Like, 3 out of 3, and this is probably a conversation for another time when we talk about past relationships and whatnot and all the horrors that it comes with.
Oh, but you're a stronger person for it, bro. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I hope so. I think so. No, I most certainly am. Yeah. But yeah, they were huge fanatics of Supernatural. The first person that I dated that loved it, I think it was like maybe season 5 at that point.
No way.
And yeah, so it was already 5 seasons in, and I started it. Things didn't work out. I was not motivated to watch it at all. And then the second one was maybe season 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point I tried starting it, and I tried starting it again like prior to that. So that's so between like female dating number 1 to female dating number 2 who watched Supernatural, I may have tried to watch it like 3 times in between that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last person was basically season 14 or the final season, one of those two. I can't remember. It might have been both. It might have been in between. And that female was unfortunately a nightmare on my personal growth.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time too, just going to clarify that I also was at fault, but there's a lot of issues there.
Yeah, no, it takes two to tango. We understand
yeah,
this.
for sure.
It takes two to tango, and unfortunately, if you are led in the tango, it is often you that are thrown.
Yeah, and you have your opinions on this person, very much so.
Yeah.
Thank you for your support. I know,
yeah.
I know you have your opinions on this person.
Yeah, my sister had opinions on this person. So like,
did she really?
Yes,
I'm so curious to know because I never asked her.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe that's something to talk about. Maybe I'll hit her up and ask her. Because that is something that.
Well, I just like
yeah,
because there's because she met this person in person when you came up with her.
Yeah, when I came up to
so,
visit
like,
you guys up in Portland.
We're purposely omitting names just so you know we're not talking about a person that actually comes back into our particular episode series often. So don't worry, you're not missing anything, crowd. But my sister is the be all end all of all wisdom. She's 10 years older than me, and she basically raised me, and I love her to death. And
she's a godsend.
Yeah,
she's an angel.
She has her shit so together. Like I can't even fathom having my life together that well. Like,
yeah,
just
she's like one of my she's basically Caleb and my favorite person. Like even hands down, like of all the people that I've encountered, your sister is still one of my most favorite people.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't hurt that, we all break into song when we're all together. So
like
it
just bonus. A musical, just a traveling musical. That is exactly what we are, and it's beautiful, and I love it. But yeah, definitely hit her up because she's a little bit jelly that you like talk to me once a week, but you don't call her ever, despite the fact that you were her friend first.
I don't even. You know what? I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this right now. Like, it's a two-way street, okay?
Okay, that is fair. She doesn't exactly go out of her way to call you, but, like, that's also her personality. She's kind of...
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be part of her life, you need to choose to be part of her life.
Yeah, I understand, and I most certainly will. I do miss your sister a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. You heard it here, and there's audio proof that I am slacking, and I am at this aspect between the two of us the bad friend. But we're gonna change that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. No, but seriously, this actually leads really good into like maintaining friendships and relationships. Like, because like I will say till the end of my days that I have a very best friend and his name is Sterling. So because he's been my longest friend, I've known him since kindergarten. Like we grew up together, and I talk to him maybe like once or twice a year. But in my head, in my internal head canon, someone says best friend. And like, I instantly think of you and Sterling and Tim. Yeah. Because, like...
I don't know Tim. I know about Sterling, but I didn't...
Okay, so...
you may have brought up Tim.
Yeah, I've definitely brought up Tim. We call him the Great Timofree.
There you go. That's what I remember.
Yeah, Timofree.
Okay. There you go.
You know, Butterfree, Timofree. Yeah, anyway.
Timofree.
Timofree. Anyway. Yeah, so... My buddy Tim, my buddy Sterling. Now, I'm not saying last names because, I don't want them getting doxxed randomly. Although it'd be hilarious if it's...
It would be funny.
That'd be hilarious if, like, somewhere in Utah, like, a billion people walk up to Tim and be like, oh, it's Timofree. Yeah, no, that'd be gosh, it'd be simultaneously terrifying for him and hilarious at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of like that. What was it? Something happened over the pandemic. Like there was a huge battle for the name of like somebody, like anyone whose name was like Tom or something like that. That they would fight to the death, quote unquote, fight to the death to be like the Highlander. The I am number one.
I'm number
the
one.
Tom.
I am the Tom.
Yeah.
I don't know I know this happens like every once in a while. Like there's the quintessential this name person. Like because of like it's happened ever since Jet Li's The One came out.
Such a good movie.
It's-
Like it's kind of bad writing wise, but it's still such a good movie.
Hey, like to be fair, their concept of multiverses is better than almost any other time traveling movie ever.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, cuz Back to the Future's wrong.
Yeah.
Really
but,
wrong.
I mean, yeah, but
The Time Machine is wrong. Really wrong.
yes, but
Both versions of Time Machine, that mind you. Timeline with rest in peace Paul Walker. That was wrong. Like the only
Yeah.
other movie that's done time travel correctly is technically Kate and Leopold.
would the Time Machine also?
No,
The original Time Machine? No.
no, the original Time Machine was wrong about time travel as well.
Yeah.
Like the newer Time Machine was almost okay because he didn't move locations, he just stayed put but time traveled around him.
Around him.
But the problem with that is you can't have a truly stationary object in time. Because you can't. Because they would be stuck in space, thousands upon thousands of miles away.
Okay.
Relativity.
Yep.
It's a bitch.
Yeah. No.
Relativity is a
I
bitch.
understand.
It is the worst.
I understand what you meant by that. It took me a second to be like, what the fuck are you talking? Oh,
Yeah, no,
it makes sense.
As soon as you start going a little more macro, it everything is just like the fact that it's because we're not accelerating or decelerating that we feel like we're stationary. We're on Earth rotating about its axis at about 1,000 miles an hour. Now, Earth is traveling around our sun a little over 10,000 miles an hour. Now, about the axis of the center of our galaxy, we're going at over 100,000 miles an hour. Now, relative to all the other galaxies in the universe, we're moving at millions of miles an hour. But we feel like we're being still.
Yeah. And we have to thank gravity and the fact that we're technically constantly moving because we are moving.
Yeah, no,
with the
it's
rotation.
because we're not constantly accelerating that we don't feel like we're moving. We're reset relative to the gravitational constant. Like we feel stationary because we're not suddenly stopping. If the Earth were to suddenly stop, like turning, we would be yeeted through the nearest wall, door, or whatever hard surface at about 1,000 miles an hour. That is terrifying. Mind you, that hard surface would also be yeeted sideways, but odds are you are less stationary than your foundation.
True.
Yeah.
Because they are implemented to
be relatively stationary. They're meant to stay
They're
put.
more stationary than we are.
Yeah, ultimately, like me and my rolling chair is not more stationary than the concrete slab under my butt. Like,
Right.
you know.
I mean, you could take that concept and just, put yourself in the process of isn't it an elevator where it's the same thing? It's like if one's like, even though you and the elevator are continually falling at the same time, it doesn't necessarily, which is the reason why you can't jump in a falling elevator. Right? You can't jump in a falling elevator.
No, you okay. So, the question of whether or not you would survive in a falling elevator by jumping doesn't make sense because you're still going to be traveling down faster than you can jump up. So when the difference in the rate at which you fall doesn't matter. Like
no,
ultimately,
but that's what I'm saying is that
what you're saying is the reason why you don't feel like you're moving in an elevator that is going down is because you're moving at the same rate down as the elevator.
Right, which is why I'm saying is that you can't jump is because you're both falling at the same rate.
No, you can jump.
Right?
You can definitely jump in the elevator. Me and all my high school buddies used to set
no,
off
no,
the
no. I'm talking
alarms
about
by.
I'm talking about when it's falling. I'm not talking about when it's going down. I'm
Oh
talking
yeah,
about,
no. So the thing is, without wind resistance, you're going to fall far faster than the elevator.
Yeah, so
While you are
you
contained
couldn't-
within the cocoon of the elevator, you will fall at the exact same rate of gravity as the elevator, which means you're
Right.
falling at 9.81 meters per second squared. Now,
Right.
it's still going to be pulling you against the elevator at 9.81 meters per second squared. So, because the elevator can accelerate faster than you can. You're accelerating at
Right.
the same rate, which means that
Right.
essentially you're standing still. So even though you're standing still, what you can do in an elevator, if you were falling inside of the elevator at the exact same rate as the elevator, so long as there's no wind resistance, like the elevator's doors didn't blow off while it was falling for some reason, you can jump and you'll probably bash your head against the ceiling of the elevator because you're exerting an absolute negative force against your total mass. So
Okay. So,
as long as there's no wind resistance added to the system, you will always fall at the exact same rate as everything. That's why a feather
Right.
and a brick fall exactly at the same rate in a vacuum.
mhm.
Because no wind resistance.
Wind
There's no friction.
resistance,
Yeah. So long as a system is contained and has relatively no friction, you're going to fall at the same rate. Now,
Yeah.
you can jump in an elevator. Will it save you from dying when it crashes? No.
No.
Your best bet, if you are in a falling elevator, by the way, this is just a PSA for anyone, is to grab onto the railing and try to push yourself towards the bottom of the elevator and try to starfish on the elevator as best you can, and like face upwards. Do not face downwards, because what happens is when you crash facing downwards is your eyeballs will pop out of your head and you have a possibility of puncturing your lungs because the way of your rib cage, the way your rib cage works. Now, if you are lying on your back, supine, as opposed to prone, supine, for all of our medical friends there, and you've like crash land with your back as close to the surface of the floor of the elevator as possible, your body is actually meant to be able to take a certain amount of force in that direction. Like, you breathe, and the way your lungs breathe, your muscles will actually hold your rib cage up and your chest and everything. Your spine will not try to collapse itself inwards. And if your head is up against the hard surface, the likelihood that you're going to bash your head against something is severely reduced. You see this all the time in flight safety things. The reason why during a crash landing they tell you to rest your head on your arms. I covered my mic. Rest your head on your arms and keep your head that way is because your arms are essentially preventing you from having a hard impact against the seat in front of you. Like, obviously this would be a lot easier to show than try to describe with words, but I'm pretty sure people understand what I'm saying. Mythbusters did a really good job of illustrating why this works, but what they didn't do is show the instances of it actually working in practice, because they too many liabilities. Like, there's just too many issues with dropping people from elevators. It's like, you can't do it.
No.
But ultimately, I think we covered the topic of relativity pretty well.
I think so too. I think it's also hilarious is because because you can't see it and I can. I mean, Caleb's demonstrating and I'm like, who are you demonstrating to? I'm like, and I'm just here sitting with a big ass grin because I'm just like, oh, he's going full ham. So
No,
just letting you know, guys,
I can't talk
he's
without
going-
gesticulating. Like,
He's going full send.
straight up. Like, I have friends who are like actually Italian and they move less while talking than I do. And I know that's a stereotype, but there's a reason
it
why
very
it's a
much so is.
stereotype.
And I agree with you. Like, even for me, like, I use my hands, but because of the way my setup is that I am very cautious about my surroundings. Basically, I'm like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah, no,
Any little thing that I do, like big ass hand gestures or anything like, I mean, I also have big ass hands, but
mhm.
like any type of gesture like that, you'll pick up on the mic
It's
because
like
there
playing
are plenty
baseball
of
with a
things.
frying pan.
Pretty much, yeah. It's
Yeah.
the same thing. That's why I said, bull in a china shop
Mhm.
because I have to be cautious around my surroundings. I mean, I literally just hit the mic just now, so
Yeah,
you
and you
might.
weren't even moving that much. It's just
No, no,
you
no, I
definitely have
wasn't.
like Andre the Giant syndrome. It's like
I mean,
it's not my fault. I'm the biggest and the strongest. You don't even exercise. I'm just kidding. You exercise.
I do. Well, currently I do not because if we talked about it before, which we did,
Yeah.
my groin injury. It sucks, but as a small update, pain is gone. I could walk again, just not very far
I
before I
mean,
start feeling
you
it.
can still do your
So
chest, bro. I mean, you can still work on the biceps and the triceps and the. I'm just kidding. If you can see the face he's giving me right now, he's like looking not even at me because technically you have to look at your camera to look at me, but he's like staring at the screen like
so unenthused.
this person here, this Caleb. Yeah.
This bitch. I'm going to say it straight up.
This
Bitch. But yeah, for the most part, it's a process because like for me, I like going on hikes and I like running um and I know I'm bringing it up again, but ever since I got COVID, the whole lung capacity thing has been such a bummer. And I don't know if you knew this, but in the past week, there has been a study for long after effects of lung function
Mm-hmm.
um, in the science community, in the medical community, but it hasn't been published and it hasn't been fully peer reviewed. But
Well,
it's
it's
showing
really
that,
hard to do because
yeah,
there's so many different cases and every single person reacted a little bit differently. Like it's not
yeah, exactly.
vastly differently. Like they had the basic symptoms that fall in line with most fevers and most flus. They had flu-like symptoms as well as very very strong respiratory responses in many cases. But the unfortunate part is there's just way too much data to sift through to get a baseline of anything other than there are a lot of things that are very flu-like and it's very dangerous to people with a certain number of comorbidities. Like,
Yeah, and also at the same time too, there are people like me who are technically non-reported. So,
yeah, so,
like
you couldn't even if you were to report it, like it wouldn't be documented, it wouldn't be
no,
substantiated because
not at
it
all.
would just be your own personal experience
Yeah,
as
exactly.
opposed to something that is like lab examined. Now, even
Right.
lab examinees get things wrong all the time. Like, don't get me wrong, it happens all the time, and even our oldest tests for certain things don't have a 100% accuracy. So
Yeah, exactly.
we have to take a lot of the information we get with a grain of salt. Ultimately speaking, though, in your personal lived experience, it sucked, and now you can't breathe as well.
Before that, I couldn't breathe as well to begin with, but
Yeah,
it is what
I
it is.
mean, you breathe a little less well, is what I'm saying.
Ye- A little. I mean, you could hear it when we record. Caleb.
Dude, it's okay. You're just like one step. You're just
I don't need it. I don't need
you're just one step closer to getting the Darth Vader respirator. Just
I mean, I'm kind of halfway there. I have my Boba Fett helmet right here staring at me.
Yep.
And I'm very tempted to put it on, but then I'll be completely
yeah. No,
muffled.
we won't be
And
able
the
to hear
o-
you at all. You
No,
you
no,
won't
no, no.
even
And
sound
the only person,
like Mando. You just sound like.
yeah, and the only person that'll be entertained is Kale is because he could see this bullshit.
Yeah,
So,
no. I mean, I'd be entertained because I'd essentially be talking to like one of the adults in the Peanuts, you know, like, wah, 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 wah.
wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
Um,
Gosh.
that
I remember
that-
watching that cartoon as a kid and then looking at like my parents or like looking at adults and being like, I can totally understand what the parents are saying in this, but why can't I understand the cartoon?
Right. But then as you get older, there are these kids, and you may have done it too, where it's like where you drown people out, and it literally sounds exactly like that.
Oh, there's a
And
difference between being stuck in your own headcanon in like real life, like literally lost in your own world, which happened to me all the time, and like blatantly just saying a person's not listening. Because my particular combination of ADHD and a hyperactive imagination meant when I was playing like cops and robbers or like dinosaur chase or whatever, like my friends turned into freaking velociraptors and were chasing me, like to the point where like I was terrified until I got tagged and then I realized, oh wait, that's still my friend Sterling. Like,
oh, I got you.
yeah, no.
Sorry, hold. Sorry. You're Caleb's looking at me like, what the hell is going on? So, I'm currently getting a cramp on one of my muscles in my jaw.
Oh no.
And it happened when I yawned, so I'm currently massaging it.
Oh yeah. No, no,
I
no. I've had it's this one for me. It's my right side when it like I have like a 1 in like 18 chance of like getting like hyper stressed like jaw muscles if I yawn too wide. Because like as you yawn, you get the sensation of like, oh wow, that's a stretch. That feels really good. And then it goes a little too far and then you're like, ow, that's pure nothing but pain. Like, yeah.
Yep.
It's a little bit too far. So like, I don't know, maybe we all just need more rest. I'm of the mind. You know, I think we talked about this at some point. Everyone just needs more. They need to eat better, they need to sleep longer, and they need to exercise. And I think the world would be a better place.
I agree. But it's also the motivation of trying to get those people to do so.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm also very distracted by one of my wallpapers right now. I think it's a cinematic for I think the Old Republic, but there is a Twi'lek who looks like Darth Talon. So it doesn't make sense to me because Darth Talon is new lore. Sorry, I'm just very distracted just with that little instance.
Very easily.
So I apologize again.
Yeah,
I apologize again.
Very easily distracted. And that's never changing. I don't think we're ever not going to be very easily distracted.
Ow! I think I could talk. I think I'm okay.
I mean, at the very least, like, eventually you'll learn, like, ventriloquism so that you don't actually need to move your mouth so that you can say certain things. Obviously, it doesn't sound like I'm doing anything, but what Jason sees is the fact that I'm not moving my mouth very much. Yeah. No, I actually practiced, like, ventriloquism for a teeny tiny bit. Like,
Same.
Yeah, because who doesn't love Jeff Dunham? Like,
for me, it wasn't Jeff Dunham. I don't know what it was.
Well, there's also Reading Rainbow or whatever as like a kid, or like one of those TV shows like the teacher would put on when they were hungover, and like, you know, they'd just have like a movie day. They'd put on like Reading Rainbow on the VHS player, and they'd like wheel in the portable TV and like just let the kids do it while they turned off the lights and like went in the back of the classroom and took a nap. Yeah, no, like I miss those days. Those were like pretty good days because like you couldn't get in trouble for like mimicking what they were saying on TV because, you know, those programs were public broadcasts network.
Yeah,
like
because on PBS, right? Public Broadcasting System. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're all like PBS original series, so they all had like they taught morals and they taught like basic things about like wood burning and I don't know. I used to like they used to show a lot of really cool stuff that kids could do back in the day. Now if you tried to give a kid a soldering iron, he'd probably end up like scarring himself for life.
I mean, you don't have to be a kid to do that, but yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah. I had a friend, he'd always have like a Sharpie mark on the side of his head, like just like right here on his temple. Because
I like how you say right here.
Right here.
You're showing
this location that I'm showing you. But for
right
everyone that's
eyebrow.
listening, like it's on the temple of like your head, you know, it's like adjacent to the eyebrow, in between the ear and like your sideburn. Yeah, you know, it's like right there. It's approximately 1 centimeter north of. Yeah, no. Anyway, we use freedom units here. It's 1/18 of an inch. No.
Oh Jesus. Oh Lord Almighty, we be using them inches.
We'd be using them freedom units. Anyway, yeah, like he always had like a permanent Sharpie mark on that side of his head, because one of the things that he used to do when he was thinking is he'd flip his pencil around and he'd like put pressure on that spot with the eraser, because like he had to think harder. Now the problem with that is he was also in an art class, and during one particular series they were only using Sharpie markers for the sake of teaching intent, like the intent to use a permanent marker and stuff. Of course it would have worked with any other felt pen or whatnot, and it would have even worked with like washable markers, but the idea is by picking and choosing what you were doing with it, like you could either discover that you don't like consequences and therefore you chose very, very safe lines, or you liked to risk the possibility of something going wrong and therefore you would pick really bold lines. And like obviously this friend that overthought everything, because he was my friend, you don't see the smile that Jason just had, but like, yeah, no, it's the truth. All of my friends overthink everything. It's the only way that we survive. Am
I one of those friends that overthinks?
I don't think I have a single friend that can just go with the flow normally. Like not like chill go with the flow. Like there's a difference. There's like all of my friends, like depending on the topic, it needs to be a specific topic. Like Sterling is a Star Wars geek through and through and through and through and through and through and through. Like if you say anything even remotely wrong, not only will he tell you why you are wrong, but he'll tell you in which universe you are correct in and tell you why that universe is wrong. Like it's that bad. I love you, Sterling. And like, Tim is a lot like that on a lot of different subjects. Like Tim is more than likely way smarter than I am, but he's still my friend, and I appreciate that because, you know, I love him. But he doesn't correct the same way that I do, so it's really interesting whenever we get into a logical debate about something. Because he'll go to things that are like 3 or 4 steps ahead of where I would end up as my conclusion. So it allows me, he kind of teaches me a lot of things anytime we talk about something, because he'll go the several steps further required to get a more complete solution than where I would normally be satisfied with the solution, which I think is just brilliant, and I appreciate every time I get to talk to him that way. But yeah. I don't have any friends that don't overthink. It's just 100% the truth.
Okay. I guess he didn't think because the question was about me, and then you went with Sterling and Tim.
I mean, if we are talking about you have a very deep emotional thought process.
I wanted to say care to elaborate, but I don't need you to.
I would rather not, to be perfectly honest. I don't want to bare your soul in front of these people. But
what people? I don't see anyone around me. I'm kidding. No, I understand. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but so far as overthinking goes, I think it's just indicative of the individuals that I surround myself with, because I'm that type of individual. But it's not just. It's not one topic. For me, it's a lot of different topics. And more often than not, it gets me in trouble for overthinking it. That's actually bright. I never realized how bright my monitor can get. So for the people who don't know, Jason just flashed me with a flashlight. Now, the problem is, I have a very decent gaming monitor from like a couple years back, but it gets really bright. So when you flash a flashlight at a camera, it's actually a bright flash on your monitor because your monitor can actually get decently bright nowadays. It's not like back in the day of the old CRT TVs and whatnot. Like it's
I love those.
zero latency, absolute zero latency. Those things are amazing, but they are so dim it's almost impossible to play them. Plus, they don't make them anymore. So like,
Yeah, but yeah, the flash of light was bright enough that it caught his attention. The only downside is that he is not in a dark room right now, because otherwise that would have been
oh no,
muy excelente.
that would have been blinding, and I would have been like,
Right, and he would have shriveled up and put the whole Lord Voldemort or whichever villain that you want to display that melts and whatnot.
What was it like? There was like this there's like this horror movie from the early 2000s that like I think you mentioned at one point, or like I was talking about. Either way, is like somehow related to like the Tooth Fairy, and like the only way he could get you is if you're in shadows, and he comes out of shadows and he can like attack you from shadows. So like the way the guy gets no,
I do not recall that at all.
Oh wow, okay. So like I remember
that might have not been me.
Oh,
but
well, okay. So I'm associating anything horror with you because you made me watch the Halloween movies and stuff. Because that's your genre and you enjoy them.
do I? I'm mildly entertained with the Friday the 13th series, or actually just any old slasher slasher movies like Friday the 13th, Halloween, I guess Nightmare on Elm Street as well. But that's only because I just recently got into the supernatural, like within the past like 3 years.